afternoon and welcome to Real Talk with Sean, everybody. This afternoon, I have the pleasure of speaking with Kayla, and we're going to discuss her battle, I want to say, with domestic abuse. I want to thank you so much for joining me, Kayla. I do appreciate you for accepting my invite.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
How far into the relationship did the abuse start? Did it start off physical or did it start off verbal?
I would say it started off verbal, and the verbal, I would say the first 2 months. I didn't realize it started so early until I was out of the situation. But when I think back now, it started almost immediately. After that love bomb of like, oh, you're the amazing, 2 months in, it was like, oh, why are you looking at such and such? Or, oh, you're really not all that, like things like that. Yeah, because I model, and I do plus size fashion on a separate channel that I have and stuff like that.
Oh,
And he had two pairs of pants and two shirts, you know what I mean? So he wanted me to get on his level. So to answer your question, it started almost immediately, but it started with the mental and the verbal. It wasn't automatically the physical.
wow. And I think that that's important to say because a lot of times it starts off verbal. First and foremost, we don't really realize it until we're out of it. And I say
Mm-hmm.
weird. I haven't been through it, but I say weird because I mean there are a lot of people that have been through this. And a lot of people don't really realize the extent or where it actually started until they're out of it. And then you always go back like, wow, I remember when this initially started. It starts so much earlier than what we really think of at the moment, and we just don't see it because like you said, the apologies come in and then you're in that love bombing.
And that cognitive dissonance does a lot too.
It sure does. So I mean, I definitely can understand where you're coming from. When he initially started doing it, I know you didn't notice right away, but the moment you started to notice that he's putting you down and verbally abusing you, why didn't you leave right off the break? What made you stay?
Well, I think it's important to just start with the timeline. I met him when I was 17. I was a senior in high school. And I also had a very verbally abusive father. He wasn't physically abusive, but I was used to hearing those putting me down and those words. So it didn't really, it affected me, but it wasn't like, okay, I need to leave. Like, this isn't abnormal to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
So I think that's why I stayed for so long, because I was like, oh, okay, like there's men in my life that have said mean things and done, mean things to me. So I'm not. Oh, also timeline as well. I met him 5 months after my rape. I
Oh,
was raped, and that's how I actually lost my virginity. Um, yeah, and I felt so less than human when I met him. So the fact that he had brought me up to this, like, oh, this, I was instantly connected to him, because I was like, wow, this is the first guy in my life that's treated me like I'm something. But
mhm.
crazy how you end up getting treated like you're nothing, that.
Yep. And
So,
I can definitely imagine that. I'm sorry to cut you off. And I definitely can imagine the fact that growing up, hearing those things does play a part because
mhm,
supposed to grow up with parents that uplift us and have patience. Not that they're going to have patience all the time, but you should never verbally abuse your child or make them feel as if they're unwanted or less than. So when we
mhm,
go into the world, whether it's for a man or a woman, that really does play a part in allowing someone to verbally abuse us. So I
mhm.
add on top of that the fact that you were raped. I can only relate to what you're saying, of course, but I can understand what made you be in that mindset at that time.
Yeah, all that happening, even if I would have not had that mentally abusive father, even with that whole assault thing happening, just men in my life weren't in the highest light to me. So when someone shows you that kindness and patience at first, no matter what they do towards that after the love bombing, you're still wanting to chase that love bombing back. Like almost like a puppy, like, oh my God, you love me, you pet me, like, come on, do that again.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think that's what kept me there so long.
it does. And they and in a sense they kind of validate you as well. Because like
Hmm.
you said, you don't even know who you are. And at that point, you don't even know how true love is really supposed to feel. So you
That
allow these things. I totally get it. Did you ever retaliate? Like, did you ever match that energy as opposed to walking away? Did you start doing the same to him?
not until our last, like the final, after 5 years is when I started to be like, you know what, I'm gonna, but that has made it worse. It just made it worse. It would have been easier for me to leave earlier than I did than to after those, years of going through it, just try to do it back or be similar because that ended up, me in the hospital. So
Oh,
yeah, I never advise domestic violence victims to try to hit their partner back or finally get up, like in the movies, get up the nerve. Like enough. You ever seen with Jennifer Lopez?
yeah,
When
yeah, I
she
sure
trained
did.
him.
Right, right, right. I don't advise that.
Remind, because that is a movie that is not realistic.
It
You'll
is.
end up worse.
Sure can. And I think that was an important message, like to not advise that. Your best bet if you're ever in a situation like this is to leave. I
Mm,
mean, you don't need so many signs. You know what it really is when it's happening. If it doesn't feel good, then you know that's not right for you. There's one thing of going through disagreements and even may having an argument every now and again because you're two different people bringing your life together, but there's no reason that love will hurt where somebody's putting you down. I just don't believe in it. And if a person can't control their emotions in that way, you need to be strong enough to walk away because that's when people start putting other people down, they really have issues with themselves. So
definitely. Like I said, he had so many issues that it was, to him, I was like up here, even though he wanted to make me feel low. I had a car, I worked 2, 3 jobs, like I was always focused on my goals, no matter what happened with my assault or my, father not being the best father he should have been. All that stuff, I never let that get me
mhm,
down and stop me from growing and progressing. And with my ex, he everything that happened in his life, he was the victim. You know what I mean? Everything that happened was the reason he did what he did and why he couldn't progress in life.
and I heard
So there's a jealousy aspect of that as well.
uh-huh. And I heard you mention the word narcissist. So
Oh, big time. Oh my God. I didn't learn what that was until I'd say about a year ago. I started studying it. And I realized my father was one. I
mhm,
connected those dots. And then I was like, and then I got back with my ex because this was on and off for 5 years. It wasn't consistently, dating.
right.
And then I started doing my research on that when it came to, romantic relationships. And I said, wow, I didn't even realize any of that until I was out of that head fog.
And that's a good one right there until you're out of the head fog because
Mhm.
a lot of people that go through that are in a head fog. I love that. It's true. That's exactly what it is. So let's go back. Tell everybody, for those that don't know, what is a narcissist?
So a narcissist, it's a mental basically disability. It is something that it cannot be fixed or changed, even with a lot of therapy. Um, it is basically you're seen as, like, I try to compare it to my followers, like a toaster. You're a toaster, and once you stop working, you're thrown away. And if you still have a little spark in you, they might use you to toast some bread some more. They don't look at people as people because of the mental disorder they have. You are an object, and I use this word a lot on my channel, supply. You are supply to them.
Good, a good.
So narcissist is basically someone who doesn't see people as people, and it usually starts, not even usually, it starts from when you're a child.
Mm,
When you have issues with your family and you've been assaulted and stuff like that, it can almost switch something in your mind that as you become an adult, you can't connect with people. You don't have empathy, and that keeps them safe because a narcissist doesn't grow past the age of their trauma mentally.
that's so true. Yeah.
So they're stuck in that 11-year-old boy's body who's been abused and hurt, and inflicting pain on others makes them feel like, okay, they makes them feel good. It's a very sick disorder to have.
It is.
It is, and it's dangerous.
It is. It is. And you hit
I
the
hope
nail
I
on the
described
head.
that well.
No, you hit the nail on the head. I'm listening. No, y'all, she hit the nail on the head with her definition of what a narcissist is. And everything you said is so true about how they conduct themselves and their acts and the way that they think.
No
It is so
empathy,
true.
no morals, no,
Nothing.
they're close to a psychopath, actually.
It is very, very close to the definition of a psychopath, and it
Mhm.
cannot be cured. It really can. I think that with a narcissist, you can learn to, when you really go to therapy, because I do recommend narcissists to go to therapy. I recommend anybody to go to therapy that has had childhood or adult trauma, but a lot of times it comes from childhood trauma, and it just, like you said, they never grow past that age of the trauma. And so
Mhm.
I recommend that anybody that has childhood trauma, first and foremost, go to therapy.
I'm in therapy right now. It helps. It
It does help.
helps.
It does
Don't be
help. I
ashamed
know
of it.
in the Black community, a lot of times, because I have to speak about the community that I'm from, especially being a little older and coming from the 70s. We, because of slavery, Black people grew up, no, you just be strong and we just get through it because that's what we do. But
Mhm.
today is a different day, and therapy really does help. It does not show weakness, in my opinion. It actually shows strength to
Mhm.
actually be able to go to therapy and deal with any issues that we have, because to allow someone to abuse us verbally or physically, that says something about ourselves, that we actually need some type of healing, because there's no way, when you love yourself, when you really look in the mirror and love yourself, that you would allow that.
That to happen.
Never in a million years would you allow that. You would walk away at the first sign of it. So I'm
And
just
now I would.
I
Now
was gonna
now I
say,
would because
get it. And I'm glad that you're in a headspace that you're in now and loving yourself today, because it's not about yesterday. You know better now. So you
Can
do.
I touch on something you said about our past
Absolutely.
ancestry and slavery and stuff like that? We were, as Black people taught to be strong. And even, your parents might have said, oh, sticks and stones will break your bones, words will
Yep.
never hurt you. I got that all the time, get over it, you'll survive. And my dad is very against counseling. I have limited conversation with him now. And when we do talk, most recently I talked to him was like a month ago. I told him like, hey, like I'm in counseling, I'm getting help for, what I went through with my ex and stuff like that. And he basically flat out told me like, you need a counselor, like you need to talk to someone. Like that was your fault that you were in that situation. Get over it. That's what he said to me. Um,
Shame on
and,
you.
I basically say, huh?
I say
Sorry.
shame on you if you see this, sir. Shame on you. But go ahead.
And he was like, you don't need help, get over it. It's your fault that you got into that, and it is what it is. So, as a person that has respect for my elders, I didn't yell at him, curse him or anything. I just said, okay, like, I hope to talk to you again soon, Dad. Have a good day. And, I hung up the phone and called it a day. And I think that's something we really have to work on as a community. I'm not a parent yet. I don't have any kids, but I know when I do become a parent, if my kid needs to sit down and talk to me for 3 hours about something that's on their mind, whether I see it as important or not, I'm going to listen and I'm going to understand where they're coming from or try to. And if I don't say, hey, can you help me understand what you're going through? Because I'm not getting it.
Good
You,
job.
and if we can do that for future generations, that could help a lot, because because we, we are strong, coming through what we went through and going through what we went through, doesn't mean I have to quote unquote stay strong.
Good job.
I can cry, I can scream, I can have a mental breakdown in the corner as a Black woman and still be seen as strong, but also delicate and vulnerable, because that's okay to be that. That doesn't make me less of a Black woman because I express my emotions.
Good job, my young Black woman. Absolutely. Because
So
I wholeheartedly agree with everything you're saying. And I think that message needed to be conveyed, because it is so true. It's, you don't have to stay strong from a sense of, you're human. We all
mhm.
have emotions. And just because you have a weak moment does not mean you're not strong overall.
And
And
you're not that you're a weak person. You can have a weak moment and be a strong person.
absolutely. And I need men to definitely understand that as well because it applies to you. And for your dad to do that, like I said, shame on him. And I'm so glad that you're in a headspace you're in because that could have set you all the way back.
Hmm.
So I'm glad you're in a headspace of self love and knowing who you are and where you're trying to be, that you can no longer affect me. You can no longer get to my heart anymore or the core of who I am because I'm
I'm
no.
a smiling wave, smiling.
There you go. There you go. He had to have gone through some things in life to be that way. That's not your problem, but it's to say, I'm here to help you now if you need me, because I'm in a different space and I can show you the light, even as
Mhm.
a child, because sometimes it takes the children to show the adults or the parents the right way to be. And I'm also happy with what you said about when you do have kids, because you want to break a generational curse that's been put there by being that attentive, supportive, loving, kind, empathetic parent. And that's
Mhm.
what we need more of. That's why people think that a lot of Black women are so mean. But we're not mean. You need to submit to your emotions and deal with those. You don't have to walk around with a mean mug on your face. You can show your vulnerability, women, and it doesn't mean that you're weak. So I
Like,
love the
it
message.
actually makes you stronger to be able to be vulnerable and pick yourself up. I've been through hell and back at such a young age, and every time I pick myself up.
That's what I'm talking.
Every time I pick myself up because I know that I'm not only doing this for me. You don't have to. I also want people to know you don't have to have kids in the moment to be thinking about what your future kids will have. Like I walk and carry myself as if sometimes I'm married and have kids already because I know that when I do have that, I want to be prepared.
No, that's right.
I might, someone might say something mean to me and I could get all, annoyed and show my, ASSS and all that stuff. But then I take a moment, I breathe and I say, what is the future generation gonna say
Mhm.
about me doing what I think I'm about to, what I might do or something like that.
There you go. There you go. And we need more of you because then, we get more of you in the way that you're carrying yourself and conducting yourself as as a classy Black woman. And that's not to say that you're perfect, but I'm conducting myself with class. And you also realize that no matter how someone else acts or the way they do things, I have control of me. And that's all I can control is the way that I respond, the way that I conduct myself. And I think that if enough of us stop looking at the way somebody else does things and only look at you, you can actually be a help to them. Little do you know, unconsciously, you can be a help to them. So I support you. I'm in your corner and I love what you're standing for. So, what about your mother as far as her being involved? I know you said your dad was this way, and I didn't hear you mention that mommy. So, how was she in your life growing up?
I love my mother to death. She is truly like my best friend. We talk every day. Um, I love her so much. Not saying, she hasn't had her flaws. She did have a pattern similar to me with my relationship of like going back all the time. We constantly leave dad while he was at work and then a couple months later she'd be back, and I blamed her for that a lot. Growing up, I was 11 years old looking at her like, "Mommy, we're packing to leave daddy again, like we just came back, all that stuff."
Right.
So I had a lot of resentment, a lot of anger towards her throughout my teenage years. But then once I'd say in the last like year or so, after I feel like repeating her patterns and stuff like that, I started to come to an understanding of why she did what she did and how she did what she did. And now our relationship is phenomenal. We don't argue. We go out on our breakfast and lunch dates.
That's what's
I'm planning to eventually move out of the state of PA. She's saying she wants to come with me. She's like, let's get a house and we can live together. She always told me and my sister, moved recently. She moved to Texas, so she's a far away. But my mom always said, hey, I'm gonna live with your sister 6 months out of the year, and I'm gonna live with you 6 months out of the year. Make sure you got a second or third bedroom for me.
right.
Because I'm gonna be there. And then she's like, when I die, my ash is gonna be split in half and half. I'm gonna be with you. So I love her. She really is the definition of going through a lot, going through so many things, and her even struggling being on food stamps and me not even knowing, me thinking I was middle class to high, to upper class, and my mom was low class, almost below that, couldn't pay her bills, and I wouldn't even know.
Yeah,
I didn't even know
that's
growing up until later.
yep, and that's what she was supposed to do because that's not your responsibility. So as a
Hmm.
parent, she was to make sure she was providing by any means necessary, and it wasn't for you to know that. And
And
so
my
I
dad,
commend her.
sorry not to cut you off. My dad loved that she was struggling with us. You know what I mean? And then because he was like, "Oh, well, you need to come back to me, I guess, so you can have this
Of
financial."
course.
And her last time she left, I remember I was around 16. Um, that third time she left, and who knows the amount of time before I was even born, but that third time she left, she stayed gone. I was helping with bills if I could. My sister was a little older than me. She was helping, and we created a safe space. And
Yeah.
to this day, my dad stalks her, tells me, "Oh, can because narcissists never leave you alone. That's
You
number
don't?
one. They never. He talks about her all the time. He'll ask how she's doing before he asks how I'm doing. He'll be like, "So how's your mother? What's going on with that? Is she dating? Is she working?" And she stayed gone this time. She got into a new relationship. She's happy
Yeah.
and she's moved on. And her leaving my dad helped with me and my mom's relationship a lot. If she was still there, she'd be sad, she'd be miserable, and she's such a happy, successful woman now. So,
Mm. Good
but
job.
yeah, to answer your question, me and my mom's relationship is really good.
Good
I'm
job.
very blessed to have a good mom.
That's what's up. And I'm glad that she is no longer allowing him to control her life, with the going back and forth. Because when you go back and forth like that, they definitely still have some sort of control over you. And so the
Hmm.
fact that she's broken completely away makes me very proud of her as well. Because I mean, you need to know your worth, sweetheart. And I'm glad that you do today. So that's what's up. When okay, so now you're well into the relationship. The verbal abuse started 2 months in. Now that you're out of it and have looked back, you realized this started way quicker than what I thought, rather. So when did the physical part come in, or was there ever a physical abuse that took place as well?
The physical came in. Okay, so after the mental part, we broke up
Okay.
for a while because I was graduating high school. He was starting his second year of college, and then I'd be going into my first year of college. So with all that going on, we kind of broke up. And the first breakup was in a way healthy. Like, it very much didn't give narcissist or anything like that. He just sent me a text saying, "Hey, like, these past 5 6 months was being together has been good, but such and such, blah blah blah, same old same old." And I was like, "Okay, like, sounds fine." I was starting to kind of lose feelings a little bit just because of that emotional abuse and stuff. So I was like, "Okay, like, it is what it is." I didn't grow that trauma bond yet or anything like that. So we stopped talking and we ended up getting back together, I'd say. mm, October was around the breakup, got back around in like December, I'd say. So like 2 3 months or so. And that's when the physical abuse came in. The second time we got back together.
Wow, that and you were away. You were away for that 2 months. And I heard you mention something that is so important for people to know. Explain to everyone what a trauma bond is.
So a trauma bond is basically, a lot of people in toxic relationships go back and forth, back, like I just told my mom and stuff like that. You become bonded to them from your traumas with them. Like, that's the best way to explain it. It's like, the more you go back, the more they hurt you, the more you feel like you're close to them and that you love them. And it's such a sick thing to go through, and I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, because when you have a healthy breakup, you take the good, you take the bad, you say, "Okay, it is what it is," and you're done. But with a trauma bond, you're very more likely to be sucked back into the relationship because you're saying, "Oh, well, we had this and we had this, and yeah, they may have done this, but we also had this." And then you're just in a whirlwind of a tornado of confusion, and you feel like you need this person. You've been through so much with this person. Why would you leave this person?
It's
And
so
it messes up the chemicals in your brain as well, and it becomes addictive. So with a trauma bond, you'll also have that addictiveness to them as well. It's almost like you touching fire and you're being burnt constantly, but you're
yep,
like, oh, I need to be warm though.
yep. It's so
You
true. That's a good example. It is so, so true and such a valid thing. And they make you feel as if they need you. It messes up your brain chemistry, exactly what you said. And it is such a real thing. So y'all,
Trauma bonded is being bonded by trauma,
it's
basically.
true. So when the physical started to come in, were there physical marks that showed that you were being abused? Did anybody ever question you?
At first, I'm not gonna lie, I don't bruise easily.
Okay.
I'm very much, even because I played sports in like high school and stuff, get hit, bounce back up. I never was one to have like a huge black eye. When the abuse started, he looked me in my eyes and said, I know not to hit you on the face and stuff like that. So when the abuse first started, it was just like, real, tug of the wrist, bending my wrist or, punching me in the arm or, stuff like that, legs, like nothing here, so I didn't have a bunch of bruises and stuff like that. One of the first times he hit me, it was like to the highest degree. It wasn't even like subtle, like how I just said.
Mhm.
Those were like intermediate in it, but there was times when I remember this day so clearly. We were at a basketball park and we were parked in the car and we used to love to like, go play basketball. Before we went, we, eat a snack or something in the car. So we're eating and I don't remember what I said to trigger him or even if I had said anything, because this is going back, 2018, 2019. But whatever happened resulted in me being strangled. He dragged me to his, he's in the driver's seat, dragged me to his side and was strangling me. And I passed out. And when I woke back up, I was still being strangled.
Wow. Okay.
And then I, attempted to like get out the car and he pulled me back into the car, like, where are you going? We're gonna go play basketball now. And I was so like shook because like I said, I had, the verbal abuse from my dad, but I didn't have like beatings and stuff like that. So that was unfamiliar to me. Like that right away I knew was like, oh my God, like what the hell is wrong with this man? You know?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so yeah, but no one really questioned it. I didn't tell my mom about it till the incident of me being in the hospital this year. Like she for years kind of just thought it was toxic. She knew it was toxic. Let's say that. She knew we had our issues, but no one knew about the physical abuse, not even my best friend at that time. I was very much quiet about it
Wow, wow.
to everyone.
Do you feel that people missed your best friend, for instance, and I'm going to use her more than your mother, being your best friend? Do you, and this is not to blame her because sometimes, people don't want to assume stuff. They prefer you to
Mhm.
just tell them. But do you feel that people missed some signs that showed that you were being abused? Granted, we know that it's toxic, but being toxic and being abused are different things. Do you
Mhm.
feel that people miss signs of you being abused? Or
Definitely.
because women, I'm sorry, because women can mask it. They will take
Mhm.
up for that man and hide it. So I do understand that as well. So I'm not saying that they should have saw it, but looking back.
Definitely. Around that time of getting with him, I started to use certain drugs,
Mhm.
that he had put me onto and stuff like that. I started, um, being late to it was my freshman year of college when we had, got back together and stuff like that. I started being late to class all the time, started not doing homework. My grades started slipping a lot. Like there was signs like that. And I think those are signs to look at. If you have a best friend or a family member that is in a relationship, the best way to see if the relationship is healthy or not depends on the other aspects of their life.
Yeah.
Are they sleeping? Are they eating? Are they losing weight? Are they gaining weight? You know what I mean? Are they doing well in their studies? Because
Mhm.
all of those things sometimes, most of the time, end up pointing back to who their romantic partner is.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
stuff like that, I was definitely lacking in deeply because I was so distraught and I was so focused on, keeping him happy and trying to fix our relationship that I was lacking in every other aspect of my life.
Right. So when the drugs came into play, whatever they were, and it's really irrelevant to what it was, as to
It
what,
wasn't anything too severe, marijuana,
okay. But that
um,
was something that you didn't do.
yeah, marijuana, shrooms, acid. So like hallucinogens, not like, like coke or heroin or anything. I ended up finding out later that he did those things,
Wow.
later on in our relationship or whatever. He was experimenting with every drug possible, but those were the three that he had me doing. And if you look at acid, do you know if you know what acid is, the hallucinogens and stuff
Yeah.
like that, it keeps you in that fog because they
Oh,
need to keep you in that fog and that ooh,
yep.
type of vibe.
Right, right. It does. It does. I do get it. And it actually becomes a coping method too, because it gives you some sense of feeling good because you're high. So, I mean, it'll give you some sense of, like I said, happiness in the moment. Um, and I'm just glad that you're, no longer in that same mindset, to do those things, and the fact that you're out. Why did you stay knowing that now you're really hurting me? Okay, the physical part, I mean, the mental part or verbal part, I dealt with this shit. But now you're actually putting your damn hands on me and not in a loving way. Why didn't you leave?
Hmm. This is a hard question just because as a victim, you find different reasons each time you go back, each
Mhm.
time you stay, like every year is a different reason. But that year in particular, I believe our relationship didn't last that long again after that. Like it was very much, I started to be like, start hanging out more with my friends, just kind of staying away from him, and stuff like that. And our relationship ended shortly after that again.
Okay.
One thing you'll know, a lot of people that have been through narcissistic abuse know is that they can't maintain a relationship for long periods of time. That's why all of their exes they're back and forth with. I think the longest we dated in a whole without breaking up was 7 months.
Okay.
And
Okay.
that's because we lived together. So I do believe shortly after that happened, we ended up breaking up again. This reason was more about, the abuse and stuff like that.
Good. Okay.
Um, So we didn't end up I didn't end up staying quote unquote for a while after that. We broke up for I think a good like 4 months after that. We got
Right.
back together next like spring or so.
Right.
Because
Right.
I kept forgiving him because he would
Of
come to me with
course.
a sob story, crying at my door. I love you. Like I love you so much that you make me so angry to the point that I put my hands on you. But if I didn't love you, I wouldn't do that because only you
Ah,
can invoke that emotion out of me.
what? That's a big one right there. That is such a big one. Did you believe that when he would say that? Did
At
you?
first I did.
Uh-huh. They will hit you with that one really quick, that they love you so much that you make them do this. And you
Mhm.
actually kind of you fed into it for a moment.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, that makes sense." Like, if some people equate anger with passion.
Mhm.
Sometimes they do go together sometimes, depending on the scenario, but
I agree.
when it comes to abuse, anger isn't passion, anger is control.
Yes.
It's a control thing.
Yes. That's what it's all about.
All about every aspect of how they treat you, the wheel of abuse, it's all about the center of it is control, and these are the things they do to gain it.
So, so true. It at the end of the day, that is definitely what it's all about. And I'm glad that no children were involved. When you were going through all this, would you say that you had very low self-esteem? Do you feel that self-esteem has something to do with allowing yourself to be abused?
Yes, definitely. I think it was one of the main reasons I stayed for so long because they break you down until you feel like you're nothing. And, if you were to look at my social medias and stuff and see my modeling and all that stuff, you'd be like, oh my gosh, she's a confident, beautiful
Right.
woman and stuff like that. But that's all what I want people to see. That's what I want people to look at me as. But that's not how I actually felt on the inside. And I still struggle with that feeling. I'm not 100% confident. The situation's very current. That was May 15th that day happened. And I started my TikTok page, I think it was like June 13th or something like that.
Very recent.
Recent. I'm still going through the courts and the PFA and the, all that stuff.
Good
My
job, though.
family wants me to move
Mhm.
because I'm still living in the house that we shared, and I got a threatening phone call less than a month ago of him saying, "Hey, you think you're all this and that? I bought that TV, I bought that couch. There's stuff in there that's mine." You
Okay.
know, I so a lot of my family's saying I should relocate because he has about 4 weeks left of his rehab center that he's in, and after that I don't, you know,
Mhm. How does that make you feel?
scared.
Mhm.
I talked about on my TikTok channel a couple days ago about people think it's so easy sometimes to leave, and it's not. Like, he's looked me in my eyes and said, if you're with someone else, oh, this is what he has said on the phone call. He said, if you get with someone else, if you sleep with someone else and I find out, um, I'm not just gonna put you in the hospital for something minor.
Dude,
I'm gonna go to jail for a reason this time.
and you're sick, dude. If you ever see this, you're sick. And you really need to get help for that because you cannot, first of all, you should not beat someone into loving you. And you cannot, you had her, and you didn't appreciate what she did bring to you. So I mean, if you really, I've learned over the years, when you really love someone, when you really, that word means so much, and when you really love someone, you want the best for them. You want them to be happy. And in this case, that means letting her go and live her life. She's afraid of you, and love is not scary. It just doesn't do that to you. It makes you happy to be around that person. Let this woman go and live her life as the young Black woman, strong woman she is, and she's growing to become. Let her go, man. So that sucks. That sucks. I hate to hear that. And you need to start documenting stuff and report his ass.
I did. I reported him to his probation officer.
Good. And
You
can
know that he was contacting me because he's not supposed to have any contact. You want to know something sick? 2 days after he got out of jail, he was in jail for about a week and a half for what he did to me. He got off easy. I had sprained wrist, a concussion, bruised ribs. I had just had surgery 4 days before our last incident. I had actually came home to recover from my surgery. He didn't help me at all. He was just, going to his hose houses and, just kind of staying away from me. Because one thing narcissists will do, they can't handle you being sick or needing them. They will leave the situation immediately. Um, so he did that, and I was home, calling him, "Where are you? I need your help." Like, I can't move around that well. And what did he do? He said, "Okay, I'm gonna come home and I'm gonna beat you and you can shut up about it," basically. And that's resulted in me running out of my house barefoot with a shirt and underwear on, banging on neighbors' doors to help me because I was like, this man's really gonna kill me this time. Like, I really need help.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you did that, and I'm glad that you are reporting him. And it's sad that um the law won't do more when it comes
Yeah,
to a woman being physically abused. And the reason I keep saying a woman, y'all, is because I'm speaking with a woman. Because make no mistake about it, I don't disregard the fact that it happens to men as well. But
it
I'm
does.
speaking for a woman, and so that's why I keep saying it this way. Um, it is sad that the law will not step in more when a woman is showing that they are trying to get away, and then you all lock this bastard up for a week, 2 weeks, and then
And then give them rehab and probation.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's sad, and a lot of times the woman ends up like he said to you, way worse than what I've done in the past. And hopefully they don't unalive you, because it really does happen. It's not a joke. It's not a game. It's not to be taken lightly, because these people that do these things have mental issues, and they're not in the right frame of mind. Anytime, I don't care if you swing one time. You're not in the right frame of mind when you're doing stuff like that to people. You've gone off somewhere mentally.
And
So
that's what I tell my followers and stuff like that, because a woman is, or a woman or man, whoever's being abused, you are more likely to be killed by your abuser after the
yes,
breakup than when you're in the situation. And
so
so many times the court fails us because they give them probation or some rehab or a week in jail. You let me tell you something. You know, he was at my door 2 days after he got out of jail,
I believe it.
at
Like,
my door with a ski mask on. Yeah, with a ski mask on, and I was so afraid because my door is like very weak, and I didn't realize he had the key to the other door because there's two doors to my apartment. So stupidly of me, I let him in, and I was like, okay, what do you want to talk? Like, type situation, because I'm still at this point under his control. I'm still in
I
that
get
trauma
it.
bond.
Yep.
So I'm like, hey, like, what's up? Like, what do you want? Like, and he's like, oh, I came to get some more of my stuff. You didn't give me all of my stuff. You didn't drop all of my stuff at my grandma's house, so I came to get some stuff. He's looking around, looking under the bed and stuff, still asserting his control over me.
Yep.
Then he grabbed me and he kissed me, and I'm like, like a statue kind of. And he's just like, all right, like, we're not supposed to talk right now, babe. Like, I'm not even supposed to be here right now, but like, we'll talk again once all this rehab stuff is over. Like, just not in his mind understanding how he hurt me, how any of those things happen. And he's like, I'll see you again, and then he leaves.
That sucks. That sucks because it's all about him. And clearly, I mean, we already know he doesn't love you. You can't possibly love her to even do those things, knowing that she got away from you because she's afraid for her life. And before any of y'all out there that look at this that may say, well, she knew this or she knew that, why did she stay? She explained earlier. And it's so true. And anybody that has gone through it knows best. Trauma bonding. It is so true. The
It can
trauma.
kill you.
Yep. It can truly kill you. And that's why she didn't walk away a lot of times. And she did. That's why she went back because of the trauma bond. And they do that. They beg to you to come back because they need you. And they did this because they love you so much. So unless you've been through it, a lot of y'all may not get it, but it is so true. And I haven't been through it, but I definitely understand because it makes sense.
Mhm.
It definitely makes sense of why someone would stay. So what made you finally say enough is enough? Like, what was that point that you said, this is it? I gotta get out of this and I'm strong now. And every time you think you're going to come close to me, I'm reporting you. What made you finally step out?
What made me? Sorry, I'm trying not to get emotional because, like, every time someone asks that question, I get
Okay.
emotional.
Guess what?
Um,
Guess what? Before you even answer me, I'm one that, again, we said it in the beginning. You're human and this actually happened to you. So emotions come into play every single time that it's talked about. 10 years from now, you may get emotional talking about it. I actually like the authenticity of it when a person does get emotional, if that is what they truly feel. So when with me, not that you want to be sitting here a bag of tears, but with me, please know that it's a safe place to do that because I believe in that because that's how much it hits home and it happened to you. You're not speaking in third person. You're actually speaking about something that happened to you. So yeah, but when did you finally leave?
when did I finally leave? Was, like I said, May 15th, the day I ran for my life.
Okay.
Um, my final, but let me tell you my final leave because there's layers to it. A lot of people assume like it was just one day you wake up and you're like, I'm done.
Right, right,
This is over.
right.
My final leave, I would say, was July. Last month was my leave that I was like, every time you contacted me, I have contacted your PO. Every time you call me, I hit the don't answer. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that was literally last month that I was like, listen, that trauma bond has to be cut because I don't want my mom or dad to see me in a casket.
So true. So true.
Now, what made me be done, I found my sister sent me a picture of, she took a screenshot of when I had my neck brace on, and if anyone goes to my page on TikTok, it's a pin video. I had a neck brace on. My sister's, in the little camera, like crying. I'm in tears. Like seeing me in that hospital bed really like shook me. Because a lot of times when you get out of an abusive relationship or they haven't hit you in a while, you'll get, like I said, to that cognitive dissonance that I talked about earlier of your feelings and your thoughts don't mesh together. You're like, I love them, but they hurt me,
Right.
type of situation. That snapped me out of that because I said, this person doesn't love me if he's willing to put me in a hospital bed.
Right.
And that's what made me leave, because I also realized I saw someone else's TikTok page. It wasn't really about abuse. She was just someone who talked about relationships and stuff and gave relationship advice. And
Mhm.
she said, if you don't break up with them, you'll soon marry. If you marry, you'll soon have kids.
So true.
So cut it now before you get there. And you know how I talked about earlier about I'm always constantly thinking about my future kids and stuff like that. I looked at it and I said, I don't want to have kids with this man.
That's what's
I
up.
don't want to marry this man. I don't want to continue on with, you know, years of trauma that I can cut off now. One heartbreak for me will save a heartbreak of generations.
There you go.
So
That-
that's what made me stand up and say, you know what? God gave me a way to get out of this situation. Why would I purposely put myself back into it? Because in September, there's a court hearing. Once his rehab's up, his parole officer told me there's a court hearing mid-September that we could go to court and get the PFA dropped and all those things dropped if I wanted to and reconnect in our relationship. She said she gave me that choice.
Okay. Okay.
And not gonna lie, when she said that at first, I had to take some time and really be like, do I want that? Is that something, I had to question it. Even after all that, I still questioned it. But I had to think and I said, no, God gave me a way out of the situation. And I know in my heart, if I go back, I'm not gonna make it out this time.
That's the bigger
And
picture.
he's told me that. He was like, he told, what he said, like, next time you're not gonna
Yeah.
be.
And
So
he gave you the warning right there. Yeah, he gave it away. Like he gave his own self up with that one. And I can actually understand. First of all, this is very fresh. So I can understand you questioning because that's still part of the trauma bond. So I can understand you questioning, well, should I do this? Because, we all are human and people do change. The violence could stop. He could be right this time, but he'll be right if ever for the next person, not you.
mhm.
You'll be gone. You're done with this chapter of your life. And that's
Not even though with the next person, because now there's not all narcissists are physically abusive. They're always all mentally abusive because that's part of, you know, but not. I would like people to understand who are watching this that narcissism is a spectrum. It's a circle, it's a wheel. Not all narcissists are the same. I got double whammy that mine was physically abusive and a narcissist and a bunch of other things, you know what I mean? But and narcissists don't change, so he's not going to change for the next partner, because I've had actually conversations with other partners of him because they cheat a lot and everything else, and he was the same towards all of them. They all some I had about 3 come to me share their story. He has a child from a previous relationship and he had her by her throat against the wall. He's not going to change. He is a predator and he's an abuser, and he's not going to change because jail didn't change him. That week of jail didn't change him. Me leaving before didn't change him. Him hitting his baby mother in front of their daughter didn't change him. None of the things that even have nothing to do with me has changed him. So I don't see him changing. Narcissists don't change. And the fact that he's also abusive on top of that, he can get counseling, he can be in rehab, but I have a feeling that there's just going to be one unlucky person, or he's going to be the unlucky person that messes with the wrong person. And that's usually how it goes in a lot of situations like this. They don't change for the next partner. And I put that in a video of mine. on TikTok, because some people stay with them because they feel that, oh, well, if I leave, they're going to change for the next person. They're going to be better to the next person. They might be better temporarily, just how they love bombed you and did all those things to you, but they're going to revert back to who they are. You know what I'm saying? And I just don't want to be that person that's there when they do so.
That's the
Because
most.
someone's going to have a casualty. It just might not be the victim, it just might be the
That's
perpetrator.
so true. So true. And at this point, it doesn't matter if he changes or not. It's not your problem.
And it's not my problem. Yeah,
No,
that's true.
it's
If he
not
changed
your
20 years down the line and he's like, okay, I was a piece of whatever and I magically had a epiphany and I don't do that anymore, that's not my problem. That's not a risk you as a victim should be willing to take.
Nope, not at
Because
all.
it only takes one time. I know in my heart I could have been a long time ago. That strangling in the park, I could have been done. That beating on May, I could have been done. Any of those times, I could have been done.
You sure could have. You sure could have. But you're here to tell the story, and that's the only thing that needs to be done at this point. Is it? It's part of your story to help
Mhm.
the next person or people
And
to.
the abuse gets worse as you go back each time. I also want to say that while we were on that topic of going back and forth and them possibly changing,
Mhm.
don't think they'll change for you, especially because every time you go back to the abuser, the abuse gets worse. Because now they're seeing, okay, you've allowed me to get away with such and such, so let's take it an extent further. Out of those, all those times I went back in those 5 years, it got worse and worse.
That makes sense.
Now, you remember how I said about he used to say, oh, I would never hit you in your face and stuff like that? When we moved in together, I was getting punched in the face, I was getting smacked in the face, everything. There was nothing off limits.
Because now
So,
I'm on his turf too. You're all the way on my turf now. I got you. Wow.
mhm.
So what are some things that would, it doesn't really matter. It's just a question because honestly, it doesn't. I wanted to curse really bad. It doesn't really matter what you do or say, but what are some things that would push him or that would make him go there? What are some of
One of the things, sorry, not to cut you off.
his excuses as to why he would do it?
I'm gonna answer this in two parts. I can give you what some things that would make him go off, right?
Mhm.
So I answer that one first. Asking him to do something around the house would trigger him badly. Like I cook dinner every night for him, steak, lobster, all type. I love to cook, so I got right now on the stove some oxtail that I got simmering right
Uh-oh,
now.
now you're talking about my type of food now. Okay.
Yeah, so I would be cooking and I'd say, hey, like, babe, can you do the dishes when I'm done cooking? Because I'm kind of tired and then, it'll be clean for tomorrow and
It
stuff like
should be.
that.
I
Oh, you
agree.
want me to do something? Like, why do you always have to ask me to do something? Like, that would be a trigger there. Or, hey, babe, can you get off the bed? Because I would like to fix the bed. I already washed the sheets myself. I already did everything else myself. Can you get off the bed so I can fix the bed so we can go to sleep? I had asked him that. I can give you an incident. I asked him to get off the bed while I was fixing it. I was in the middle of fixing the bed. He sat back on the bed. And I was like, hey, like, being a bully, like, hey, can you get off the bed? Like, why are you being a bully? Can you get off the bed? And that resulted in him picking me up by my throat, slamming me on the bed, and then putting my face in a pillow and then biting me on my back just for asking him to get off the bed.
Now that's sickening.
And then make it more sick, I ran to the bathroom crying and I got myself together after 20 minutes and I came back in the bedroom. And for him to be so nice, he finished fixing the bed, right? Um, he's laying on the bed trying to pick a movie for us to watch before bed. And he looks at me and he's like, hey, come sit down. Like, I found a movie for us to watch. Like, just every time he would abuse me, he would act like it didn't happen like 10, 20 minutes later. Like, why are you crying? Why are you upset? Get over it. We're on to the next. So that's the answer your question about certain things that would trigger him. It would just be as simple as asking him to do something or asking him to help me with something or asking him to help me clean the house or anything.
Oh,
Um, or saying no.
okay.
Saying no was not allowed. It doesn't matter if it was sex, money,
Okay.
anything like that. Saying no was an automatic like beating.
That sucks. I
And then, sorry, what was the second part of your?
I can't even remember what the second is. Like I'm just I'm
You're
stuck
like,
on the sex part because I can imagine where that would go with that sex part. All of it is
it didn't
sucks.
matter if I had my period. It didn't matter if I was cramping. It didn't matter if I was tired. The few times I did say no and he didn't, force himself onto me, it was he had an attitude for the next couple days about it, and he would constantly bring it up.
I'm so sorry you went through that. I'm sorry that you went through it and glad that you're on the other side now and that you're still here with us because that even bothers me because if you were my child and I ever heard that, I don't know what I would have done. Like that would have sent me over the edge as a parent. Even hearing it from you, because now I feel like a connection now. And that really disturbs me to even know that you have experienced anything like that. And the next man that comes along better love you the right way, as well as you loving him the right way too. You
And
know,
that's why I'm not dating right now. Like I'm really like focusing on my counseling and stuff because I when you are in an abusive relationship, sometimes you can end up taking parts of that. Not even sometimes. If you don't heal before getting into another relationship, you're gonna take parts of that relationship and bring it into someone who had nothing but good intentions for you,
sure.
and make them feel almost how you felt, and that's not fair to them.
Yep. Make no mistake about it. You will most certainly bring a piece of that into the next relationship if you do not heal. So I commend you for acknowledging that and staying on task with fixing you first all the way because you got to be best for you first. So I definitely commend you for acknowledging that and not even dating right now. As much as we may get lonely or want the companionship, it's just not time yet. And this
And
is
my generation likes to do that a lot. Like my generation, if you go on social media, it's all about, oh, I'm not hurt, on to the next, the songs nowadays, oh, get one, got another one. And we're
yep.
looking at that as like hot girl summer. Yeah. But if you really think, into it, you'll say, these women are hurting and haven't healed from not nothing. And that's why relationships don't have any longevity and they're a couple months and then they're on to the next. Who wants to live like that? I
So
don't want to live like that. I want to be able to say, okay, I'm going to heal from whatever this person did to me, and then I'm going to find someone that values me and stuff like that. And as soon as they show me that they don't value me, now that I know what I know, I will exit before anything physical, not even mental. You call me out my name once, I'm like, all right,
I'm
have a
telling
good
you.
day.
I'm telling you, and it's that deep. And somebody might say, they only did it once, so give them no, no, you do not get a chance. And we talked about it earlier. I get disagreements, I get an argument, but I'm never gonna hit below the belt. It's
Mhm.
unnecessary and that's a sign of abuse right off the break. And I'm not giving no second chances. You don't get to do that. So, and that comes with a person that is fully healed and self love. You just will not stand for it. And I learned a long time ago when a person kind of allows people to do things like that, verbal or physical. Yes, we know the other person has a problem, but you do as well because you would not allow that when you're healed and you love yourself. So I know that you got this. I know you got this now. Stay in therapy and stay focused. And you have another ally in me. I'm going to give you my number before we get off the line. If you ever need an ear, you feeling weak, call up somebody else because I'll always tell you, don't you do it. Don't you do it. So, what made you finally decide to go online and share your story to help the next person? What was the thought process behind that?
Honestly, at first it was a form of therapy for me. Like I didn't think I would get the video that you discovered of mine that you liked. I didn't think it was going to get 58,000 views. I didn't think it was going to get over 5,000 likes or whatever the case might be. All my videos I posted before then were 100 likes, 50 likes, and I didn't even care about that. I was like, as long as that one person that would DM me once a week saying, hey, I'm from Ohio, you just gave me the courage to walk away from my 15-year marriage, I realized my voice had power.
You
And
sure
that's
did.
when I started right now, because of everything that happened and leaving that relationship so abruptly, having that financial loss and stuff like that. I'm working 2 3 jobs right now, 16-hour days and stuff like that, and I still consistently on my one day off will make enough content to post throughout the week. When I'm at my second job, I'm editing it on my break. I'm putting my heart and soul into this because I don't care if I gain status or money from it or whatever the case might be with social media. I don't, that's cool, but I'm here to help people because if someone could have helped me or impacted me like how I'm impacting other people years ago, I'd be in a whole different world. I'd have a whole different life and I probably wouldn't have as much trauma as I have now. So
Mhm.
if I can help people, that's all that means to me. That's why I did it. And like I said, I didn't think it was going to reach as many people as it did when I started. It was really just like a journal, a diary. My first video series, I did a series. I did a 5-part series of I once I started to realize this relationship was going to get me killed, I started hiding in my notes on my phone. I was writing down every physical incident that occurred with us since we started living together.
Okay.
I would put March such and such, May such and such, February such and such. And I said my first 4 or 5 videos, I'm going to go through that list. So I set up my phone. I set up my phone. I had my computer in my hand with my notes open, and I said, "Hey guys, I'm KayKay. I'm a narcissistic abuse and domestic violence abuse survivor, and I'm going to read to you some of the incidents that happened while I was living with my ex."
And it started from there.
And I went through it, and after that, I said, "What do I want to do now? Do I want to talk about narcissism?" Because I was watching constant videos about it, researching about it, seeing what was going on with the disorder and all that stuff. And I said, I want to start putting that into my videos as well. So I set up my film room, I got my ring light, and I was like, okay, I'm going to start talking about this now. So it kind of just started gradually with just talking about some of the abuse and then taking it a little step further because I felt like I would find so many pages about the abuse part, the hitting part, but not the mental aspect of it. So my goal is to not only tell you about the physical, but if you're not going through the physical, here's the mental part. If you're not going through this part, here's this part. I wanted to be able to cater to everyone,
That's what,
so everyone can hear it, learn from it, and figure out how to get out of it.
that's good. That's really good. And you're doing a damn good job doing it. And I love it. And you are helping people. I mean, you already see it by the hits that you got. You already see it or hear it by the messages that you're getting from other people that are saying you help them. And I'm just one more person letting you know that you are getting through to people. I saw it. That's what made me reach out. I'm very, very proud of you that you got out of this and that you're healing yourself. Very proud of you. And I know that as you grow, you're just going to stay and always be a strong Black woman out here, and you're making a difference. So I definitely commend you. You're in my heart for sure. Now tell everybody where they can follow you, all of your social media information. Before you do that, y'all follow her. It really got to me, and I know the world that we live in, if it's not you yourself, you know somebody that may be going through this, that knows somebody that may be going through this. And I'm telling you, listen to what she's saying. You too can get out. Go check her videos out, y'all. Support this Black young woman doing her thing. She's on the right path, y'all. Let's support each other. Tell everybody where they can follow you.
So my page where I post is TikTok. It's KK's Truth. So KAYSKAYS Truth, TRUTH, KK's Truth. And then I have my main page where I do beauty and fashion and vlogging. It's a little more lighthearted. That's Kayla Seychelle, K Seychelle. Is there a way we could put maybe in the description the exact
Yeah, I
name
can
or
I can
something?
post it in.
Because
I got you.
I don't know if I spelled it wrong or not,
I got you.
um,
I
but
got you.
yeah, my handle for my narcissistic abuse and domestic violence abuse channel is KK's Truth. It's not KK, it's KAYS spelled out twice with truth. And like I said, I have my beauty page, Kayla Seychelle, Instagram, K Seychelle, KAYSEYCHELLE. And those are my 2 handles that go for anything. So whether you search it on TikTok or Instagram, both of those names will pop up for my individual pages and channels. And I appreciate the support. I appreciate you allowing me to talk today and stuff like that. Hopefully, this will allow some more people to find me that can help them with what they're going through. And my ending message is you're not alone. I never thought I would get out of this. I thought I would be in this for the rest of my life, and this was my life, and this is just what it is. And I would never be able to detach from that person. And I feel like that's what all victims feel like until they're out. And when you're out, you're going to see a rainbow. You're going to see some clouds at first. You're going to cry. You're going to scream. You're going to say, why me? But eventually, you're going to see a rainbow, and you're just going to be like, you know what? Like, I am so happy that that's not my life. And I can't wait to find pure, real, authentic love. And since I haven't experienced that yet, I'm excited about it. Like, I'm excited about my future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love the way you articulated that. That is like, and you speak very well. I love it. And I'm like I said, I can't say it enough. I'm so glad that you've found yourself and you knew that it's time to be over. Now, I got one last question before I let you go for the afternoon. Will you promise to always spread peace and love in this world?
I will always. Peace and love is what makes the world go round and round.
That's right. That's right. And I believe it. I believe in you, and I know you got this. Keep doing what you're doing. And I want to thank you again for joining me.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.